All right. Well, Eric, we have Jay on. Jay, how are you? Welcome back to the show.
Good. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me back. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me give you a chance to maybe interact with Eric, but I want to make sure that it's structured, that y'all get even time. Would it be okay that maybe I don't know if y'all want to do maybe just a back and forth free for all, or do y'all want to maybe do something that's timed?
No.
I don't care.
This is not a
Okay.
moderated.
Okay, so we can do maybe a moderated debate another time. Why don't y'all just do a free for all, back and forth chat in that case?
Well, one thing I would say is that initially listening to what Eric's saying about the Canon 6 of Nicaea first, and then I want to talk about the pre-Vatican II papal encyclicals, which I've read extensively. I have a lot of familiarity with that. But first thing I would say is that if you look at Canon 6 of Nicaea, it's correct. It is talking about the Pope's regional jurisdiction. Now, what Eric seemed to do was to assume that we all know that it was just assumed that his universal jurisdiction was already understood. But in fact, if you read the canon, the only statement that gives universality there is the council saying that the universal limitations are to be in effect. So it's very odd that this canon would speak this way. And we're just supposed to assume that it was understood that it was universal in terms of his, not just local, but also his primacy over the entire church throughout the world, right? And again, I'm stressing that it likens the jurisdiction locally to the other patriarchates. And then it specifically states that it says this is to be understood universally. So the limitation is what's universal. And what Eric and most of the papal apologists do is they have the Vatican I mindset that they read back into these ancient things. And what's amazing about that is that Eric himself admits that essentially when he says that there's an evolution of this understanding when he talks about baptism of desire. I agree with him that in the Roman Catholic theology, there is an evolution of this doctrine. That's literally how Roman Catholicism has defended the doctrine of the papacy, is because it's a seed, I think Newman talks about it this way, that grows into an entire tree of understanding. That's not the Orthodox doctrine. The Orthodox doctrine is that theology has always remained the same from the time of the apostles, and it gets explicated in a more precise way. So what those councils, the Sixth Council, whatever it is, what they're teaching, it's not a new doctrine. It's not an evolution of understanding. It's the exact same doctrines that are just made more precise. That's why the words like hypostasis, energeia, they're not from Aristotle. Aristotle might have used those terms, but they're actually from the Greek New Testament. So when it comes to the Second Vatican Council stuff that he's talking about, that Lumen Gentium and Dignitatis Humanae and all these different documents in Vatican II are perfectly in line with the traditional teaching because the understanding has evolved. And he then tries to defend the idea that the saying that Islam has the same God as Christianity can be defended on the basis of baptism of desire. I mean, this is utterly ridiculous. That's how far the baptism of desire nonsense has gone to defend everything that was in previous Vatican II statements to completely contradict that. For example, if you look at Mortalium Animos, which is Pius XI's encyclical on pan-religious ceremonies, it says that this is an action of apostasy that promotes indifferentism. Nobody can deny that a CC1 and a CC2 of John Paul and then Ratzinger have promoted this indifferentism. Nobody can actually honestly read the apostolic canons and the canons of the Sixth and Seventh Council that forbid praying in synagogues or in heretical sects in their services, and then say that the actions of these men are not promoting indifferentism or a participation in that. Now, I can definitely prove to you that in all traditional moral theology, in the Roman system, if you participate in those actions, you're participating in sin, you're participating in apostasy. And in Roman Catholic canon law, it's very clear, even in the new code of canon law, you incur an ipso facto excommunication when you participate in actions of schism, heresy, and apostasy. There's other sins too, like procuring an abortion, that procures a late sententiae ipso facto excommunication. Now, it's true that in Roman Catholic theology, the Pope, you can debate whether that can be the case with the Pope, right? Because that's the whole nature of that system, is that after Vatican I, no one can judge the first see. So the Pope can do these things because no one can judge the first see, even though ironically, he can commit actions that even Aquinas says in the Summa. Aquinas says in one of the replies, if someone were to pray at the tomb of Muhammad, he would be considered an apostate. And nobody can deny that Pope Urban II calling the Crusades against Islam, and now we have a Pope praying in mosques, the blue mosques towards Mecca. Those are actions of apostasy. There's no way to defend that. The only way to defend that is to come back by saying, well, these are just sins of the Pope, and we all know that popes can sin. The answer is no. It's not just a matter of sins. It's a matter of heresy, apostasy, and schism. Those are specific sins that remove one from the body of Christ. And the ancient canons are explicit that you can't participate in the services of open, bald-faced heretics.
Wow, it's a lot there.
Yeah, hey, there's a lot there. Yeah, Eric, go ahead and jump in here.